Hare Krishna, humble Krishna says. Okay, let us start. Yeah, Shri Radha Krishna Samarika Shri Ram Vishwara Krishna Shri Namaste Saraswati Devi Subhadra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Shri Guru Shri Chaitanya Hare Krishna. So we were reading 12 of Bhagavad Gita, and I believe we had covered the first section, that is text 1 to 7 in chapter 12, where the Lord is explaining how the personal aspect, the person of the Lord, must be read as a person. Now, text 8 to 12, which we will cover today, the Lord is going to explain the progressive stages of Bhakti. So, let us start. Maya Satnam Adavatsva Mai Buddhi Viveshana Mayeva Mana Asva Mai Buddhi Viveshaya Vivasheshyase Mai Eva Atah Urdhvam Samshaya. Just fix your mind on me, the Supreme Personality of God, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt. One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane, he lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are not different, and therefore when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the Lord. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables, and the devotee becomes Krishna by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand. So, although this is the process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures. And if you see this, living with Krishna, which is what fixes my one's mind on the Supreme Personality of God. Mind is the distracting and disturbing agents. Interestingly, we can see that there is uh, no impediment in Krishna consciousness, no hindrance in Krishna consciousness. Why? Because we can understand that you see, although the mind is the disturbing and the distracting agent, which very colossally disturbs a living entity's focus on Krishna and bewilders the living entity profusely for a perennial period of time. But the inherent characteristic of the mind is also is a bit inherent characteristic of the mind uh, has further dimensions to it. We understand that the mind is born of the mode of goodness, the intelligence is born of the mode of passion. Therefore, the mind has the power to overwhelm the intelligence. That is one thing we learn. Why the mind is more powerful than intelligence? Because the mind can overwhelm the intelligence. Because the mind is born of more goodness, actually. There is another understanding of this that you see the mind in its own fabric has an element of being hooked to the spiritual realm. So mind has a prominent disturbing facet, but there is an element uh, of getting hooked to the spiritual realm in the very fabrication of the mind, because it is coming from the mode of goods. So, because the mind has that element of being hooked to the spiritual realm, therefore, the the determined, tireless efforts of a devotee to serve Krishna are always going to be successful. Why? Because mind has that element of being hooked to the spiritual. And therefore, a devotee with great determination should go on serving Krishna, tolerating all the ups and downs. Why? Because success is guaranteed. The mind is going to get hooked. So therefore, Lord Krishna explains in chapter 6 that this greatest enemy can become the greatest friend once it is controlled. Once it is purified by bathing it with the spiritual energy, the Krishna Katha and the Krishna. You see, the problem is in the setting of this material world, it is very difficult to book the mind. However, the mind is very restless. Why the mind is very restless? Because in this material world, the substantial resources are very limited. Whereas what is unlimited in this material world is what is profuse in this material world is illusion. Therefore, the mind keeps running after illusion, and that is why the mind is always restless. But when the mind is uh, drowned in the spiritual energy, the spiritual world is infinite, just like illusion is infinite. The practical reality of this world is very limited and finite. Practical resources very limited and finite. One may want to enjoy unlimitedly, but one may not have unlimited amount of money, so enjoyment gets restricted. One may want to uh, enjoy unlimitedly. The senses may not have that capacity, so the enjoyment gets restricted. And so the mind can never be satisfied. And therefore, the mind keeps running towards illusion because illusion is unlimited. But when the mind is interfaced with the unlimited reality of the spiritual world, then the mind can get completely hooked. So therefore, the principle is that when there is intensity of bhakti, the mind starts getting hooked. Which means that when the senses are very busily engaged in an intense and long enough fashion in the service of Krishna, then slowly, the mind starts getting hooked. Very interestingly, see, this is a very interesting aspect of every aspect of the material world. The mind can potentially distract and entangle the living entity for eternity. But in the core of its very fabric, it has a tendency to get hooked to spiritual rhythm also. Similarly, we see things and facets of this material world. Suffering can potentially blow away a person from one steadfastness in spiritual practices. But if the spiritual practices are deep and intense enough, then the suffering will accelerate one's spiritual practices. So situations, gives us a great lesson that situations will only pose a problem in front of us as long as we remain a superficial candidate. Because when we go deep enough and intense enough, then everything is going to aid us in our acceleration towards Krishna. Similarly, we see that this is true of Krishna conscious activities also. Like, say, for example, service. Service to Krishna, if it is done superficially, it may create burnout. One may say, oh, it is so hectic. I have seen voice centers where the student feels that voice life is so hectic. There's no time to breathe. Feel like whole day spent up, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. What is the Shiva? The service, if you see the Shiva list of that voice, what all is the Shiva allocation, chart, what all services are being offered. The Shiva which is being offered is Bhoga offering service. Next Shiva which is being offered is Bhoga offering service morning, afternoon, evening. Deity worship, temple hall cleaning, sadam hall cleaning. That's all. So I was not understanding where is Shiva in this. But for the residents, it was so much service. Why? Because the Bhoga offering takes only 15 minutes. And there were no standards of wearing chadar and other things also. You just wear normal things like that. So then it's not at all very much service. 15 minutes. But then if it is announced, sometimes if it is announced that Prabhu, here is this 15 minutes seva, can anybody do it? Everybody is looking at each other. So if it is only 15 minutes seva, the seva in charge need not ask only anyone. Because it's only 15 minutes service. The first place. So like that. So we see the point is so this means what? This means that the consciousness this means that the whole no, the mindset is very shallow. We're not able to understand. Many times we want to escape for service, but escape for service from service to do what? Escape from service to do what? So therefore, devotee doesn't want to get excuse and escape from service. Devotee is very happy offering service. Very nice. Why? Because if we have a proper attitude, then only our mind will be hooked to Krishna. There is only one way to save ourselves from the onslaught of material desires, and that is to hook the mind to Krishna. And that can only happen if we live with Krishna. Means if we are constantly serving Krishna and Krishna's desires and Krishna's mission, then we are living with Krishna. So when we are constantly serving, then only we are living. But if one is servicing the material desires, then one is not actually living with Krishna. One is living with material desires. So therefore it is said that where our mind is, that is where we are. So if one's mind is in sense gratification, we are in sense gratification. One mind is in whatever one is meditating on, that is where we are. So to bring the mind to the reality of Krishna consciousness, you should understand, I need to do my services more intensely, with more heart, more absorption, with more prayerful attitude, and not simply for the sake of getting done with it. If you get done with it, what are we going to do after that? Our cherished goal should be service. Our cherished goal should not be voidism. Or many times for devotees, their cherished goal is sleep. The morning program starts, their eyes are on penitents. Why? So they can go down, place their mat, and go to sleep. So they're using service to increase their sleep or to get more fixity in sleep. Yeah. So because from the launch pad of service, one is diving more intensely in sleep. So such a person will be born in some Sushupti Loka, where one can keep sleeping peacefully. Like that. That's what it means. So, what is our means and what is our end? That has to be very clearly pointed out. If our means is money program and the end is prasadam, all we will get is prasadam. That's all. Or if one's end goal is sleep, then all one will get is sleep. That's all. So, what did the money program do? Increase the quality of sleep. What did the chanting of holy name do? Increase the quality of sleep. Like that. Or increase the quality appetite of eating. Because one tolerated for so long. Oh, the class went so long. Or like that. So the means, the main thing is the end goal. And the means only project towards the goal more prominently. That is the point. So therefore, Krishna consciousness seva should be end goal, not means. So the rather one is eating, one should understand and okay, and now let me finish it quick now so that I can do service. Not that let me finish the service quick so that I can eat very peacefully. And then I can have a current. Then I can sleep. So you see the means. What is means, what is end? Many times even devotees mistake that. If your service is the means, sense gratification at the end. That's the problem. Then one is trotting on the ground of sense gratification. That's the point. Like that. So one will be taking rest, but a sincere devotee is taking rest, his feeling is what? I'm taking rest, let me take the quickly, let me not take rest to get rejuvenated to serve even. This is the consciousness. Then a person will jump up. Like I've seen Vaishnavas sometimes taking 20 minutes rest. Can anybody take 10 to 20 minutes rest? After 20 minutes, jumps up, Haribo, start serving. No? So you not sleep for the sake of sleeping, sleep for the sake of service. So no alarm, nothing, he'll jump off like that. Such a person waking up late is no possibility. Get up at 2:30. No question. So the point is, what is means, what is need? That has to be understood. What is means, what is need? So we should not mistake that. That is why the Lord is saying, living with Krishna. That means one is always looking for opportunity to be with Krishna. Living with Krishna. That means one is always looking for opportunity to serve, to be with devotees, to hear, to chant. Other things are second. Other things should be used as a means to enhance the living with Krishna. Not that we live with sense objects and we use Krishna consciousness as a means to enhance the experience of sense objects. So sometimes devotees like to practice some amount of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because it brings you in a state of goodness, and in the state of goodness, you can enjoy sense gratification much more. So the ignorance is suffering from beginning to end. Passion is suffering with disturbances. I mean, enjoyment with disturbances. But goodness is uninterrupted enjoyment. So therefore, devotees, so sometimes people want to increase. They want to be in passion, so that they can grab onto sense of enjoyment. As soon as sense enjoyment comes, they want to increase a little bit goodness so that they can enjoy. Huh? So that they can enjoy. So therefore, one has to be very conscious. That's why living with Krishna, heart is in Krishna, heart is in the service, heart is in the Krishna Katha. So, so therefore, the reality should not be okay when this will end. No, this is my default. When will my sense gratification end? That's not a devotee should think. Oh, when will the night end? I can do service. No? So, when will this material thing end? Immediately I can run to Krishna, run towards Krishna. When will my the study hour end? Immediately I'll run towards Krishna. When will the job time end? And just finish off basically and quick run to Krishna, run to devotees. That should be a healthy habit. That is what is Mayeva, so, yeah, the neophyte says sometimes it feels like putting hard means doing the service slowly. Is it simply speculation and sometimes it leads to burnout? Yeah, putting hard does not mean doing the service slowly. Putting hard means that one wants to go on doing the service happily. It's not slowly, happily. Not that what to do. I'm the only person who got caught. No problem. Better luck next time. Next time I'll fistle off the hands. This time I got caught. Now that's a wrong attitude. So doing service nicely means with great heart, with gratitude, with commitment, with responsibility. So not slowly, but with commitment and responsibility. With every service, the timeline of the service is there. Like DT service, there's a timeline attached to it. So it's not slowly, but we are doing it with happily, gratefully, responsibly, committed. Whatever the timeline required, we deliver by then. And after it is over, then the test is the test of health. Do we want to do it again? Do we want to do it more or not? So the philosophy of service is more service. And if that is not what we expect, one will get burnout. So doing things nicely means with great heart, great love. Love means commitment, responsibility. It means gratitude. It means so then absorption will come. When there is commitment, when there is sense of responsibility, when there is gratitude, when there is happiness, then the absorption will come. Then one is living with peace. When that happens, the mind will get fixed. And if the mind gets fixed and hooked, then that Krishna conscious activity becomes one's default setting. That means by default one is doing some Krishna conscious service. The conditioned state default setting is gratification. That's the point. That will get changed. If I am getting burnout by doing a particular service which I don't like, what can be done so that mind is peaceful? We have to preach to the mind the glory and importance of that service. No service is a low grade service. Every service is a high grade service. Classification exists in ignorance. So we have to remind the mind again and again, oh, this is such a glorious service. You rascal, you fool. Why are you having any negative, repulsive feelings? Now, let's just go on doing it. This is our way back to Krishna. See, what is the problem when we allow the mind repulsive, selective algorithm? One mention, no, no, Prabhu. Still, I like one particular service over the other service. So there is one service which excites me. This one service is most I dislike the most. You can give me anything in the world other than this one service, and everybody say that. Now, is it okay? Is it wrong? It's not okay. Why it is not okay? Because the mind is trying to establish its footing. So the mind is now zooming on one service, showing that it is a low grade service and I don't like and my psyche doesn't fit into it and this and that. Now, if we allow that, make a you and I cannot do this service, I'll do other service. Okay, one will put into other service. But the problem is what? Now the mind will find one more service within the remaining set of services. And then the mind will find one more service, and then one more service, and then one more service. And the mind will say, okay, this is low grade, and this is low grade, and this is low grade, and this is low grade. So what is high grade? Pujala Pratishtha. That is the only high grade. Sense gratification. That is the only high grade. This is the problem. So that is the point. Pujala Pratishtha. That is only high grade. So this is the problem actually. So so that is why we have to start offering resistance. So the mind has to be offered resistance. The mind has to be forcibly given experience of intense Krishna consciousness. Then slowly the mind will start getting good, right? Like the child always resists eating food, but the mother, somehow or the other, lands up in feeding that fellow. Then that fellow is fed, is healthy. So he's healthy, he'll grow. He'll grow, his intelligence will grow. At some point of time, he'll be able to understand. But let me not be repulsive to. Same thing happens with our mind. Okay, let's go to the next verse. अतचित्तं समधातुं न शक्नोति मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जयः अभ्यासयोगेन तो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जयः. My dear Arjuna, winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. In this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, supreme personality of Godhead, but translated to love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the supreme person by transcendental love. For the second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is the purification of all the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in such gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified. And in the purified stage, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In the material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get money. And the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practicing devotional service performed by the present senses. This love of Godhead is now in a dormant state in everyone's life. And there, the love of God is manifested in different ways. But it is contaminated by mental association. Now, the heart has to be purified of the mental association. And that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. So that is the whole process. Now, to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow some principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple, offer prayers, chant Hare Krishna, collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity. So there are various rules and regulations. One should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam from pure devotee. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love. Then he is sure of his progress to the spiritual kingdom. This practice of Bhakti Yoga. So this practice will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. Yes. So Srila Prabhupada explains here So one who doesn't have attachment has to follow these rules and regulations which can purify. And Bhakti Yoga enacts on the purified stage of the heart. So that is why it is said that the practice of bhakti should be dutifully done. In this dutiful stage, one is not purified, one doesn't have spontaneous attraction. But by sticking to the level or the sticking on, then one is purified. Purified senses are attractive. Just like you see, sometimes the magnet is rusted. The magnet may not exhibit the quality of being attractive. It will not be attracted to another magnet. But one is cleansed of all these rust, then immediately the magnet will get attracted. This is the point. So activity gives the experience. Experience purifies. Experience gives the revelation. And that is why Krishna consciousness is not a path of speculation. Krishna consciousness is a path of action. This one the characteristic difference between other yoga systems and Bhakti. The Bhakti yoga is the path of so when we are in association and we are hearing Krishna Gatha, that means a pickup is being arranged for us and we are being transported towards Krishna. But when it is on our own standing, we will see it is service which is our forward march towards Krishna. True service. अभ्यासते समत्पुंसि मत्कर्म परमो भाव मदर्थम अपि कर्माणि कुर्वान् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. So one who's not able to give, to even give up the, not able even to participate. The regulative principles of yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to his perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this? How to do this work? How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. One should be sympathetic towards propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many, many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness. They require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of yoga, he can try to help. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital, some labor, some organization to expand. So the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for satisfaction and sense gratification, where the same work, however, can be performed by the satisfaction of Krishna. And that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office. Or he can help with publications. So there are various fields of activity and one should be interested in such activity. One cannot sacrifice the results of his activity. The same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. His voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one rise to a higher status of love of God, whereupon one becomes perfect. So here the Supreme Lord is explaining. I think here the Supreme Lord is explaining that any step towards Krishna is so auspicious. The Supreme Lord, the storehouse and ocean of auspiciousness, the Supreme Lord is waiting for us. That if one fixes the mind and lives with Krishna, that is the best. One will be surrounded in the ocean of happiness, auspiciousness. If not, one can purify one's existence by working for Krishna. Just saying if not, just take a step. That itself can be the most refreshing and cooling experience. That itself will be the most auspicious experience for one. So therefore, it is said that Krishna consciousness is such a ground that Krishna consciousness is such a plane and such a ground that there is no loss. There is no diminution in Krishna consciousness. So, uh, uh, we see this is how we can see the contrast between spiritual plane and material plane. Wherein the material plane, no matter whatever one does, The net effect is entanglements. The net effect is enhancement of misery. Whereas in Krishna consciousness, no matter whatever one does, the net result is suspiciousness. So this is how we see the very contrast between the spiritual plane and material. Therefore, it is explained the spiritual plane is so foolproof, and therefore Prabhupada explains that on the spiritual plane, the Prabhupada explains on this path of bhakti, if a person is even walking or running blindly, but he could not get guidance. He could not get, no, he's running blindly. Even if a person is running blindly on this path of bhakti, still such a person will not fall because the Krishna consciousness, the ground of is the plane of auspiciousness. The Krishna consciousness is the plane of auspiciousness. So anything one does gets added to one's eternal credit and will save one from the greatest danger. This is what the Lord is saying. Sometimes when people start chanting one round, all devotees are happy. It is not artificial happiness, namesake happiness just for the sake of encouraging them. No, it is not artificial happiness. Even Krishna is becoming happy. This person is added one round in his life. Why is he saying one round in his life? Krishna is saying, one mana bhavan bhakto. So where is one round chanting? No, that one round is going to be the best investment of this person's life. That is something to celebrate. So the Lord is saying, okay, if you cannot follow, then you can support. Lord said, okay, fix your mind. Now the Lord is saying, okay, you cannot fix your mind. You can follow. But here, next day the Lord is saying, okay, if one is not able to follow, then one can support. And that's what Prabhupada is saying. Be sympathetic to the cause of Krishna consciousness. Be sympathetic to this cause of Krishna consciousness. So whatever one can give for Krishna, the Lord is ready to accept. So we see the oceanic depth of love of the Supreme Lord and how Krishna is all accommodating, how the Supreme Lord is all accommodating. That depth you can see now how. So one should offer everything to Krishna. But then the Lord is saying that if one cannot offer everything to Krishna, whatever one offers, the Supreme Lord is very happy to. That becomes a very auspicious addition. The eternal. So therefore, work for Krishna. Then support for Krishna. At least support. Let's try and see further. So basically, the Lord explains. See, the Lord very nicely explains that But you see, the yoga starts happening when one starts offering some fruits to Krishna at least. Then the karma yoga starts happening, sakam karma. When the percentage of fruits increase, then one is going towards nishkam karma yoga. And when it is completely nishkam karma yoga, then that is very close to bhakti yoga. A very small band gap energy, and then one is on the platform bhakti yoga. So Prabhupada is saying one can help build the temple, one can help with publications, one can offer one talents to Krishna, at least some percentage. The Lord is saying at least some percentage. अथैतानभियासक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्माफलत्यागं तथा कुरु यथात्मा. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all the results of your work and try to be self-situated. So it may be that one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, familial, or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. If one attaches himself directly to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objection from family members, so many difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated result of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Vedic rules. There are many descriptions of sacrifices and special functions for the full moon day, and there is a special work in which the result of one's previous action may be applied. Thus, one may gradually become elevated to the stage of knowledge. So, it is also found that when one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, he gives up the hard earned result of his activities. That is also recommended here because the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually, and in that purified state of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any other experience because Krishna consciousness itself can purify one's mind. But if there are impediments to accepting Krishna consciousness, one may try to give up the results of his actions. In that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 1846 it is said, Yataha pravrittir bhutanam, if one decides to sacrifice for the supreme cause, even if he does not know that the supreme cause is Krishna, he will gradually come to understand that Krishna is the supreme cause by the sacrificial. So here the focus is okay, sacrifice for some cause at least. Some cause. So this is the essence what the Vedas are teaching. Many times people quote, the Vedas there are different levels which is being said. Some people say, oh, sacrifice for country, sacrifice for society. Uh, then the very Vedas it is also written, okay, sacrifice for one's family. The same Veda there are sections which say Matra Deva Bhava, Pitra Deva Bhava, okay, sacrifice for something, at least. Why? Because by that act of sacrifice, at least some knowledge will dawn to a person. So we can understand sense gratification. is the lowest pedestal of human civilization. The person who is living a life for one's own sensual gratification, so that is very dangerous. You will see, therefore, the entire setting of the society is also so that one can somehow or the other start living a life for others. But the society says, oh, you are in a responsible position. You are responsible for this section of society, that section of society. They will tell the man, okay, you are the leader of the family. You're responsible for your family. You have to lead your life for your family, not for yourself. And they will tell the lady, oh, you lead your life for your children. So the whole teaching is to teach selflessness. But if one remains, do you see that any fabric of selflessness resolves the problem? Husband and wife are having a fight, they're not able to tolerate each other. Then the elders they put the child in front and zoom. Okay, for this fellow's sake, at least behave yourself. And then now, if they catch that cause, they're able to behave themselves. But they were fighting like cats and dogs, now they're able to behave themselves like that. Because so some amount of selflessness, they're able to take it up. Many times the person himself or herself is depressed and no meaning in life and wanting to end the life and no juice in life. Then we say, okay, you messed up your life. Now you catch this candidate, you live a life for that person. So then people get some light, some meaning. Like Mother Kunti was very distressed. She was ready to end her life. Then she saw the five children. For their sake, she was living. So you see, the point is selflessness. She was ready to end her life. She saw, okay, mother is ending her life, then who will take care of the children if I also end my life? She stayed alive for the sake of the children. So therefore, we see that this thread of selflessness is taught, but it is not all in all. It is just the first pedestal. It is just the first pedestal. So one who is following the first pedestal should be introduced the next pedestal, then the next pedestal, the next pedestal. Like so, therefore, if a person is self-obsessed and self-centered and only thinking of one's own self-gratification, that is not yet mentioned in the whole pedestals, the whole series of progressions by the Lord. So it is such a uh, very degraded, most degraded platform. So therefore, it is explained the person who lives for sense gratification, such a person is pitied even by the immovable object, because the immovable objects also live for others. So, a mountain gives shelter to people. A mountain gives entertainment to people. A tree gives everything to people. Even animals. Even animals, they give something to people. Like bees are giving honey, the cow is giving milk, the silkworm is giving silk. Even animals are contributing. So if a human being is not contributing, is not selfless, then such a being is pitied even by the immovable objects. So let's read text further. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat ज्ञानात् ज्ञानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागात् त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. Better than meditation is renunciation of fruits of action. For such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. Tyaga, Shanti, Ananda. The only way to control the mind is to give up all possibilities or to cut down all possibilities of sense gratification. Then mind will become automatically peaceful. Cut down the possibilities. As long as we keep holding on to the possibilities of sense gratification, then the mind is always going to be very disturbed. So, as mentioned in the previous verses, there are two kinds of devotional service: the way of regulative principles and the way of full attachment in love to the Supreme Personality of God. For those who are actually not able to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, it is better to cultivate knowledge. By knowledge, one is able to understand the real position. Gradually, knowledge will develop to the point of meditation. By meditation, one will be able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by a gradual process. In the cultivation of knowledge, there are processes which make one understand that he himself is the supreme, and that sort of meditation is preferred if one is unable to engage in devotional service. If one is not able to meditate in such a way, there are prescribed duties as mentioned in the Vedic literature for the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, the Shudras, which we'll find in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But in all cases, one should give up the results or fruits of labor. This means to employ the result of karma for some good cause. Summary: to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal, there are two processes. One process by gradual development, the other process direct devotional service in Krishna consciousness, the direct method. And the other method also involves renouncing the fruits of one's activities. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then meditation, then to the stage of understanding the super soul, then to the stage of understanding the supreme personality of God. So one may take either the step-by-step process or the direct path. The direct process is not possible for everyone. Therefore, indirect process is also good. It is, however, to be understood the indirect process not recommended for Arjuna because he is already at the stage of loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. It is for others who are not at this stage. For them, the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, realization of the super soul and Brahman should be focused. But as far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, it is a direct method that is stressed. Everyone is advised to take the direct method and surrender into the Supreme Personality of God. You see, in this verse, the Lord is explaining that you see the knowledge. At least the one cannot renounce. If renunciation is not possible, one should cultivate knowledge. The cultivation of knowledge will intensify into meditation, and that meditation will give the fuel, or the meditation will give the fuel for renunciation. That is the point which is being explained. That no, the meditation will give the fuel for renunciation. So now what happens is that, so therefore in bhakti we do all these activities because each one supports the other. So okay, if one is not very much purified in the heart, can one renounce? Yes, one can. How will he stabilize? As soon as they renounce, then immediately one is a little unstable because one did not have the patrata to renounce, and one is renounced. Then one know what to do, No. So then immediately knowledge. You add knowledge, some stability will come. So we add knowledge and stability will come. So the point is the recommendation of the Acharya is don't wait for the qualification. Take a step towards Krishna. So when you take a step towards Krishna, then by the other limb of the Krishna consciousness, that step gets stabilized. So rather than achieving a state by knowledge, no, we directly take a step towards Krishna. And one is stabilized. So by service, one gets stabilized. Uh, by service, one gets stabilized. So we see, therefore, we see that suppose the devotees who join the temple, say for example, they're fully available for Krishna service. So are they very much advanced? No? Are they certified that their advancement level is beyond a certain stage so that they can renounce? No. In good faith, they have taken that step towards Krishna. But can they be stable? Yes, lifelong they can go on serving Krishna and go back to God. How? Or renounced. But they don't have the patrata to hold on to that. So then what to do? So then Prabhupada said, be busy in service to Krishna. So make your life busy in service to Krishna, then you are practicing selflessness. That will give one stability. And not only just be busy in service, take a very solid intake. So the intake of Krishna consciousness and the mission and the services of Krishna consciousness are very potent. A mix of both can elevate even a person who is not having the patrata to renounce on a plane, beyond the pullings of the moves. It's the power of Krishna consciousness. So we do a mix of all these activities. So therefore, the gradual process will take a long time. And if one, no, so for one who's not doing anything, takes on to the gradual process, that's all good. But what is the recommendation of Gita? The Gita's recommendation is take a step towards Krishna. Bhagavatam recommendation, don't think of qualification, disqualification. Don't think of teacher and conditioning. Take a step towards Krishna. Tvakta swadharmam charanam bhujam hare jana utthapate tato yadi yatrakva vabhadram amusyakim uvartaptu bhajatam swadharmataha. Tvakta swadharmam charanam bhujam hare. When it comes to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, there should be no hesitation. There should be no consideration. One should immediately take it up. But what if one who has taken up a step towards Krishna is not able to handle it and one falls down? Narad Muni is telling there is no loss for such a person. But if a person simply keeps waiting to take a step towards Krishna, doing all material things, everything perfectly, there is no use or no gain. So therefore, Krishna conscious, the practices of Krishna conscious have so much ammunition in itself that one doesn't need to wait for any stage to come. One can offer oneself completely to Krishna and stabilize oneself through association, through intake of Krishna Katha and Krishna Nam and through Seva. That has a great stabilizing power for any level of condition. Let's stop here for today. Hare Krishna. Granth Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, so we'll continue again. The journey of the 12th chapter next class. There you go.